this outfit. Can we talk about it?
Sure. I have no idea what possessed me to wear this. I think it's just because I have it, and I was like, when else am I going to wear this? I'm going to be stuck in my house the rest of my life. So
when indeed. First of all, you look like a present that I want to unwrap.
And I also, my face looks like there's like way too much makeup. But
no, perfection.
Those of you listeners, if you're listening to the audio of this podcast, as I'm sure you are, you can't see Sarah's outfit, but it is truly something to behold.
The bow is like, I want to say it's like half a foot for each loop. It's crazy.
I mean, you are a pioneer of Zoom fashion right now. That's all I have to say about that.
No.
All right. Well, welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast, a podcast that is about not only Zoom fashion, but also about women's roles in film. We watch movies. We watch your favorite movies, maybe movies you grew up with, and TV shows. And we talk about the female characters in them, how they're portrayed. Do they have agency? Should they have picked up a stick and hit the rat? I don't know. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And today,
oh my God, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry.
I know, it's on the list. And today we have a very special guest. I am so fucking excited to have Justine Gendron. Damn it, did I say it right?
Yes.
Gendron. Yes. Gendron. Yes. I'm not going to be the person who doesn't say your name correctly. I'm just going to talk about how I almost said it incorrectly and still say it correctly. Podcaster, filmmaker, Justine Gendron. Thank you for being on the show today.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. It's like, you're excited. I'm excited. It's like, how long have we been wanting to do this? Seriously.
She's like our podcast sister.
You're like our podcast sister. I'm totally fangirling right now. Justine started her podcast, the Cutaways podcast, the same year that we started the Feminine Mistake podcast. I feel like we went on this journey together. Justine is very active in the podcast community and uplifting women podcasters and creating this beautiful community called Lady Pod Squad, which, by the way, if you're listening out there and you are looking for podcasts by female podcasters, check out the hashtag Lady Pod Squad. Or if you're a podcaster who's new to the game and looking to connect with other female podcasters, Lady Pod Squad is the place to be. I feel like I've learned so much from the women in that community. So thank you for that. That has been really special and important to us.
Well, yeah. I just want to say Lady Pod Squad is not just me, and it's always, I think the core ideal has been about like, you get what you put into it. Like, yeah. It's everybody.
It's true. I mean, people in that community sharing tips, sharing like things that are difficult to figure out, like sponsorship and equipment, and also supporting each other and sharing each other's podcasts, listening to each other's work, and it's been really it's an incredible community. So check it out. I know I see on Twitter all the time people saying like, "Hey, I wish there were more female podcasters. I'm looking for female podcasts." If you search the hashtag Lady Pod Squad, you will be just flooded with the deluge of incredible female podcasters out there. Okay, so before we get into this movie that we're going to talk about this week, which I am super excited about, what have you gals been watching? Anything you want to talk about that you've been watching?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. We should let the guest go first,
or whatever. Yeah, go for it, Sarah.
I recently watched the show Upload that is on Amazon Prime, and it is fantastic. It is like sci-fi rom-com drama.
Ooh.
Like it's like all of those things combined.
It's a sci-rom dram, maybe? A dry rom som-com?
What?
Is that a new genre I just created?
You said dry.
It's not dry. It's moist.
Sci-fi rom-com drama.
Okay.
And it is like, it deals with big subjects, but does it in a really light and fluffy way. Okay. So basically it's about this man who dies, and he is uploaded to an Afterlife. Have you heard of this show?
I have seen the preview on Amazon Prime, probably while watching something that Adam Driver was in, and I think it just like was like, hey,
Probably.
maybe you would like to watch something that doesn't have Adam Driver in it for like a
I
second.
think it's fantastic because it's like, it seems like, oh, this is probably just dumb comedy, but it's not dumb. And it's actually really
It's
like,
Greg Daniels, right? Like the guy
yes,
who did The Good
yes,
Place and Parks and Rec, right?
yes,
Okay.
correct. And
Well, that's
it
got
is
my seal of
definitely,
approval.
it's definitely has a lot of like jokes that are like, oh, this was written by men. Like this is totally like, this show is written by men.
Yeah.
However, there are lots of female characters. Every episode passes the Bechdel test.
Oh, okay.
And it has some very like strong female characters too, who are in positions of authority. And
great.
And all of the characters who you don't like at first, you end up empathizing with and liking in a way that's like, I don't want to feel sorry for this person. Like,
but now
why?
I do. Damn you, show.
Exactly. And
I love characters like that.
It ends in this crazy cliffhanger that like my whole family was like, what? Like at the end of it. So
okay, well that's a high recommend. And I can only deal with fluffy things right now, so that seems like something I can handle.
Yeah. And it's like sci-fi, but it's like not depressing sci-fi. It's like the future of like being able to upload yourself to the cloud when you die, so that you have like, you could like live eternally.
Well, you know that I just want to upload myself to my VR headset and forget the 2020 is even happening. So that seems like a pretty apt fantasy for me to indulge in right now.
And the way that they write it and describe it, it's very like, that's exactly how it would be. Like they make jokes and stuff that's like, of course there'd be like ads all the time. There'd be like a rich place for rich people, and like a more like for people who are poor, like they don't get much. So I don't know. It's a great show. So
okay, good recommend. I'm going to put that on my list. I am looking for a new thing to watch. Justine, do you have anything that you've been watching? I hope I didn't spring that on you. I probably should.
No. Well, I feel like the way that I've reacted to quarantine and the pandemic is that I really haven't been able to really want to or just really consume any new things. It's just like, it's new. I can't. Like I'm really reverting back to like what I watched in college or even like at home. And it's like all Food Network, like Kitchen Nightmares, Chopped.
So comforting. Like, I love a good Chopped. I love a good Chopped. I love watching other people cook. Like, I don't want to cook, but I like watching other people cook. Now, I do know that you are a person who does cook. Like, you bake and stuff. So so you actually like live up to that. Whereas I'm just like, wow, that looks great. I wish somebody would make it for me.
Yeah. So it's all pretty much been about comfort consuming for me in terms of media.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And also I've heard I think we've talked about this with some other people that when you're in a place like this, like in this strange place where you're feeling like life is uncertain and maybe sad, that watching something that you've seen before is comforting because it's familiar and
there's no
it's
stress.
going to make it's going to make you feel good and it's not going to disappoint you. And
you know what's going to happen. There's no surprises. There's no twists or turns. It's all like you've seen it before.
Yeah.
But there's something good about that. I mean, that's probably why I watched nothing but Star Wars for the first like 2 or 3 months of this pandemic, just like on repeat, watching the saga over and over and over again.
Yeah,
because I was just like, I need that comfort right now.
To recap my quarantine watching stuff, I watched all of My 600-Pound Life.
Oh, that's right. Did you finish? You finished it.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. It was awful, but I did it because I was so like upset that I was like, I just need to see like, because every episode is the same. It's just
so you know what to expect.
Different person. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was on a true crime kick for like a month or two
Yeah, that
when
was
I was
that was
just
a hole you needed to get out of.
just like all true crime. And then I was on like and now I'm starting to watch actual shows. I actually also recently watched Glow Up. Have you heard of that show? It's on Netflix. It's the makeup competition show.
No, I have not seen that.
So it's like the Great British Baking Show just for makeup.
Nice.
Okay,
yeah.
I could get into that. I definitely got into watching like makeup tutorials on Instagram for a while, where I was just like watching every makeup tutorial I could find.
You should watch Glow Up because it's fun and it's nice. It's like it's not as nice as the Great British Baking Show. What I mean is there are some people who are kind of like, but not too much. Like it's still like a feel good light show. Anyway, I watch.
No,
too
I
much
love
stuff.
it. I love true crime. I've just started listening to My Favorite Murder again. I actually had to take a break from true crime because it was too sad. It was too fucking sad and I couldn't handle it. But so Sarah, I'm glad that you, as much as I love true crime, I'm glad that you've pulled yourself out of the true crime pit because you were watching some pretty fucked up stuff for a minute there.
However, today I watched almost the whole first season of Ozark, which is like crimey. So
you might have to back it up there, Sarah. I lost you for a second. Okay. Can you go back and tell me?
Yes. Yeah. So I've watched almost the whole first season of Ozark, which is like crimey, and it's very dark, just very dark.
I was like literally dark. Like it's shot very dark.
Yeah. And like in Breaking Bad, they had some lightness with the character of Jesse. I feel like Jesse had some like fun stuff to him. Okay. But there's like no fun character in Ozark. They're all just like
it's
sad.
shot here in Atlanta, by the way. Those of you guys don't know, that's one of the Atlanta shows.
Yeah. So I mean it's good, but
you play Spot the Atlanta actor on that one.
Oh yeah. So someone who went to my church when I was in middle school, she's an actress and she has done tons of work in films that have been shot here, and she is the mom of Sam on that show. I don't know if you guys remember.
I haven't, because I think that show's about like a drug epidemic.
Drug shit.
It's drug shit. I like drugs as much as the next guy, but I can't deal with any sad feelings right now. Like I just can't bring it into my life right now. No sadness. Yeah. Can't do it.
I'm sorry that this turned into the show of what Sarah has been
I'm here
watching.
For it. I like it. I've been watching, or I did watch very quickly within like a week. I watched the whole thing. I watched The Umbrella Academy.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw you Facebooking about that.
I was Facebooking about it. I was posting my every thought about The Umbrella Academy. Oh God. So Sarah, Justine, have you watched it? You're not watching anything new.
I watched season 1. Like I haven't been really like I was excited for it to come out, but like I still haven't been ready to watch season 2 yet.
I gotcha.
I watched season 1 and then I watched the first episode of season 2 and I stopped. I was like, I don't want to get back into another season of this. I don't know. Like,
why?
Wow. I really like season 1.
Oh my God. Season 2 is great. I loved both of them. I'm obsessed. I just love Klaus. Like Klaus is a fucking angel. Like he's like a kitten and I just want to cuddle him. Like he's amazing. Like I just love him so much. And I mean, all the actors on that show are fantastic. I love the music is so good. Like I know I'm not saying anything revelatory here because it's a very popular show, but basically, you know, Chris and I had finished watching Fleabag, and we were like looking for a new show to watch. And I put it out to the internet. I was like, "Hey, what should we watch?" And most people recommended The Umbrella Academy. I do like genre stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm into. I'm not as much into superhero stuff as other folks are, but it's not a typical superhero show. Like it's more about the relationships. And also, I just think the cast is phenomenal. And I love things that are a puzzle, like a puzzle done the right way. Like you don't really know what's going on, and they're dropping you hints, and you're figuring out as you go along. And as long as the mystery is solved in a satisfactory way, then I'm pretty happy with it. So I would say, Sarah, maybe give it a little time and then come back to season 2. Season 2 is really good. And it's a period piece set in the 1960s, which gives it a sort of a fresh.
Yeah, I think what it was is I had just finished binging the first season in like 3 days or something, and then I saw the first episode of season 2, and I was like, "Oh, this is a whole thing. Like, this is a whole other thing that I have to do."
Season. I need a whole. It's a whole. I think you'll be pleased with where they take the show. I love Klaus's storyline in season 2. Klaus and Ben in season 2 are just like, I love them so much. I love them so much. Okay, well, I'm not going to say too much then because you guys need to watch season 2. So I would say I'm not going to say anything else. Definitely watch it. God, that kid who plays 5 is so fucking good. Like,
oh my God, how does he exist?
Right to be so good at his age at acting.
Seriously,
like
his
wow, that kid is going places.
An Emmy, a Golden Globe. I don't know
he
what.
Got that kid. He got that kid right away. Like, he doesn't even need to act. He doesn't need to do anything on Broad. Just got him. Just go ahead and give it to him. Mm-hmm. Just give it to him for.
He can retire now. I mean, like, he's just great.
Well, I hope not. I hope he continues.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Do more excellent work as time goes on. Shall we talk about this movie that we all watched?
What film is it?
What film? What film you say? Why, this month on the podcast, we are talking about the classic, The Princess Bride. Should we? I was worried. Should we even touch this movie? I was worried to even tread on the hallowed ground of the Princess Bride.
This is what my mom said when I told her we were doing the Princess Bride. She was like, "Oh, you're gonna shit on the Princess Bride?"
I would never shit on the Princess Bride. Look, if you're listening to the show and you're worried that we're gonna shit on the Princess Bride, I'm not here to shit on the Princess Bride. It is one of my absolute favorite movies, and we'll talk about that in a minute, like what our feelings were about the movie before the show. But I do think and I also know that the movie has been talked about a lot before. Like, we're not the first people, or certainly not the first podcasters to talk about the Princess Bride. But I'm hoping that what we will bring is some different things to the conversation that haven't been said before. And I do think there's a lot here to talk about. So rest assured, tell your mom we're not going to shit on it. We will do a little bit of deep thinking. I hope that's okay.
Oh, yes, for sure.
But
she was joking. She wasn't actually upset.
I don't know that we've ever fully shit on a movie, except for Love Story, which deserved to be shit on.
Deserved. Well deserved.
That movie deserved it. But I don't think we've ever really shit on a movie, even movies that were kind of bad. Maybe She-Devil. We did shit on She-Devil a little bit. Although Hillary loved She-Devil.
Yeah, she did.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking about The Princess Bride today. And all month. And I'm actually fucking psyched about it. I literally watched the movie. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times.
Are we going to talk about how we saw it?
Yes, we will. We will.
Okay.
We will.
Okay.
So why don't we do that before we get into the film? So we're going to talk. I'd love to hear everybody's experience with the film prior to this podcast, having to watch it for the show. Why don't we start with our guest, Justine? What is your history? What is your relationship history with the movie The Princess Bride?
So The Princess Bride is one of my favorite movies. I have previously covered it on The Cutaways, but I have completely forgotten.
Yeah.
I've forgotten everything I said then. That was a million years ago. But it's definitely a movie that I feel has just always existed in my life. I can't pinpoint the first time I watched it. It's just, it's there. I was born with it. It's a part of me, sort of thing. It's definitely like big in my family. Like, this movie reminds me of two people. One is my dad, because he'll just quote it to me constantly. And the other is my first boyfriend in high school, because of course, I don't know why, like, I liked it my whole life, but like definitely going through like the puberty first relationship sort of thing, it kind of like harkens back to that. And I remember in high school, I did a book report on the book at the same time. So I'd read the book.
Oh, you also read the book. That's excellent.
Yeah. And so like, my boyfriend knew that I was like really into it. He made me a Build-A-Bear that his name was Wesley and spelled correctly for me.
Oh my god!
That is the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
So yeah, it's been like a big movie in my life. And
yes, absolutely. Sarah, what about you?
Yo, my name is Sarah. Just kidding.
Wow, that's a different show than I was expecting. I didn't know
Sorry.
we were coming in with that saucy attitude.
So The Princess Bride, it came out when I was -1.
-1.
So
were you
a
in
year
utero?
before I was maybe, I don't know what time of year it was. It's fine. I was not born yet. So
Okay.
but then I first saw it, I think I was like 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I remember being 6 in first grade, and one day we watched it in class as like something to do when we don't have something to do. I don't know. Like, I don't know why we watched The Princess Bride in first grade.
You watched
but
it in school?
In first grade, yeah, in school.
Wow.
I mean, that sounds fucking cool, but I don't know under what context.
I know.
Would be an educational film.
I think it was
like your teacher was like, I don't feel like teaching today. Here, let's watch The Princess Bride.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why, but I was just like, this is so cool. And I loved that it was about her. And I was like, because like back then, I mean, even today, like there were few films that were named about the female character. I mean, even though
That's
it was
an interesting way to think about it. I guess
I don't know. I was like, it's about
that.
the Princess Bride, like, and she has this whole thing, and I don't know. So like, that's what I thought when I was 6.
Ah, interesting point of view on that. Okay. Well, I too. This movie. In terms of its importance in my life, it's very important. Not only have I seen it hundreds of times, but I saw it when it came out in the theater. So it came out in 1987. I would have been 7 or 8, something like that. And I remember going to see it in the theater. I remember being very scared during the part with the shrieking eels. And I remember being a little confused about some of the more like adult humor. And I loved it. I remember everybody in the theater, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but spoilers if you haven't seen 1987's The Princess Bride. I remember everyone in the theater cheering when Indigo, after he
Did you just
say
Indigo?
Yeah, that's his name.
Inigo.
It's well, yes, when he says it with the accent, but if you've read the book, then the name of the character is Indigo.
Is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know
how it's written in the book. Am I wrong, Justine? It's been a long time.
I mean, you do hear it both ways in the movie.
Yeah, in fact, all the white people say Indigo, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's saying it with a Spanish accent, which I'm going to be digging into that for sure, the accent. But anyway, when he gets up and starts fighting back, I mean, we'll talk about that later. I remember the whole audience cheering when that happened. And it's been a movie that I've loved. We used to our house when I was growing up was on a hill. It wasn't a very big hill. It was a pretty small hill, but my friends and I used to roll down the hill and play that scene.
Yes.
Where they go down the hill. That was a game we used to do, like after school. It was just like roll down the hill saying "as you wish." So and I most recently watched it with my kids, so I reintroduced the film to my kids, and then today I watched it right before the show. I watched it and took a bunch of notes right before the show. So very big movie for me. Definitely something that inspired ignited my imagination as a kid. And I watched it a lot. I mean, I know I have the whole movie memorized, basically.
Yeah, same.
All right. Well, that's our experience with the film The Princess Bride prior to the podcast. So let's get into talking about this movie.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man.
You look stupid and rich. Stupid and rich.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
All right. The Princess Bride, 1987. Directed by Rob Reiner. Also produced by Rob Reiner. Executive produced by Norman Lear.
Yeah.
And written by William Goldman. Yeah, who wrote the book as well.
Yeah, I have the book, but I've never read the book.
Justine, what do you think about the book? Has it been a while since you've read it?
Yeah, I think the last time I read it was in high school, but definitely watching it makes me only think about like the bad parts of the book. All like the negative things.
Yeah, I remember thinking, because when I read the book, I want to say I was pretty young. So I was probably like 12 or 13 when I read the book. And that was many decades ago. But I remember thinking like, wow, this is way less interesting than the movie.
It's a downer.
Yeah, it's a sad book and it's not funny.
Is it a
it's
kid's
not
book?
funny the way, no.
It's not a kid's
it had
book?
good parts. No. It's not a book for kids. It is, it's a fantasy book, but it lacks the humor and the whimsicalness of the movie. Okay. Not to say that the book is bad. I just mean the tone. I'm very impressed, or I don't know if impressed is the right word. I'm shocked, frankly, when I think about it, how different the tone of the book is from the movie. I feel like Rob Reiner had to have had a lot to do with that. But the guy who wrote the book wrote the movie, so he was obviously on board with adjusting the tone. But all the jokiness is really not present in the book.
And maybe this is because I saw it when I was a kid, but it seems like a kid's film. Like it seems like it's a kid's film. Yeah.
I mean, what I think, and here's what I'll say before we dig into this discussion is that, and we joked about this in the intro, but we're gonna definitely take a thinky look. We're gonna thinky about this movie and the writing of it for sure, and the themes and all that. But I think it's pretty clear that all of us love this movie. And so we're not here to shit on it, but I think there are certainly things that we can look at in this film that we can reflect on. But I think there's a lot of things that we'll find ourselves praising as well. I mean, it's a wonderful movie. It's every time I watch it, I am in awe of the writing, like the dialogue. The reason it's so quotable is because the movie is beautiful. Like the writing is beautiful. The dialogue is so funny and so well composed. It's really brilliant.
But if it was written by the same person who wrote the book and the book is like, how did that
No, the book's
happen?
not bad. I'm not saying the book is bad. I mean, Justine, maybe. I don't know how you feel about the book.
They're just different.
They're different.
I just have problems with like when I watch the movie now, I think about the ending of the book.
Ooh, we'll have to talk about that.
Justine, let's talk about that when we get to the ending because I cannot remember the end of the book. All I remember about the book is that it was much slower and that there was a very long section that was all about Indigo and how he trained.
What I remember about the book is that it really plays into like how the beginning is like, Buttercup was really dumb. She was so dumb she named her horse.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
If there's anything to say about this movie that is pointing out what is not feminist about it, which there's a lot, the book is 100 times worse. Like Buttercup is dumb and selfish, if I recall, in the book. She's stupid. She's stupid and beautiful and selfish.
Do you think William Goldman was an incel?
Maybe, or just your normal man conditioned to think that female characters should be written that way.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was making. I mean, I do think that the book and the movie are meant to be a subversive look at fairy tales.
Yeah.
And so I think the idea that the princess is dumb and selfish is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of other people, their characters get subverted and they come out looking a little better than that.
But aren't in fairy tales, the princesses usually are dumb and selfish. It wouldn't
I would go so far to say as there even much to say about their intelligence level at all. They're usually just an ornament to be passed around. I think most fairy tales. Although there are a lot of fairy tales where princesses come out on top because of cleverness.
Yes, that's true.
That does happen a lot. So that's something we can say about it. Yeah, well, Justine, I'd love to hear about your thoughts about the book at the end, and especially if you'll jog my memory. I don't fucking remember the end of that book at all. I do remember being disappointed at the end of the book, but I can't recall why, because I obviously blocked it out.
I'm like, I want to tell you now, but we'll wait.
No, let's hold. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Justine, if you didn't have to take any notes on this at all, but if you did, you good. You didn't have to. Sarah and I write down, like, we jot down like 10 or so things. 5. We're supposed to write down 5 things, but it's always more than 5 things. Because sometimes Sarah will say something that I was going to talk about, but we jot down a list of high points that we want to discuss. And that's kind of, so we don't even necessarily go in order, but it does tend to go in order. But Sarah, what you got on your list of things that you'd like to talk about?
So the first thing is Wesley.
Yes.
And how
can we talk about it?
Yeah. So when I was
talk about his hair.
Oh God.
Yeah,
yes.
his hair's great. So when I was a kid, I thought he was very dreamy, and I thought he was like, because he was so dreamy, that he was like a good person and sweet and stuff. I just kind of like projected that.
Ooh.
But when I watched it this time, the scene where the one time that they talk before he dies, he seems so flat and almost like unemotional and almost
Are
sociopathic.
you talking about the opening or
yes,
when he rescues her?
The opening.
Okay,
when
so
they're talking in the
I'm sorry, I was confused. I thought you meant before he dies in the pit of despair.
No,
you're talking
I'm sorry.
about
before he goes off. So like she's talking, and what's her name?
Buttercup.
No, the actress.
Robin Wright.
Robin Wright just has this genuine and just depth and strength, and he just gave her flat, lifeless, like kind of like almost me. I don't know. I got this like sociopathic kind of dead eyes from him this time.
You did.
Yes, because he was charming, and now because of certain people I've had in my life that have been charming and have been narcissists and sociopaths, I now associate that kind of vibe with that. And so I got a bad vibe from him this time.
Did that carry with you to the rest of the movie, or just through that opening scene?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not have like that is totally valid. And I feel like and I think we all bring in our own experiences with us when we watch a movie. I did not have that feeling. And in fact, I remember thinking when I was a kid that I thought Indigo was much more interesting when I was a kid than Wesley. Ooh. And now as an adult woman, I find Wesley to be fucking hot, like so fucking, like I did not remember when I had watched this movie with my kids a couple months ago, which was one of the reasons I suggested to Sarah that we do this film. And I was like, I know he was cast for this reason, but I don't remember him being that hot. Like his hair, his eyes, like his smirk. And also I think that what I see in the opening scene with Wesley is that, and I really want to get into this due to this sort of, and I didn't notice this as much, obviously, when I was a kid. There's a whole thing about class, like socioeconomic class in this movie. Because of the class level he was at, he wasn't allowed to be in love with her, I feel like. And so I feel like Wesley is holding back a lot of his feelings for her. And I feel like I really see that in his... Like, I think he's meant to be a little bit of a beautiful farm boy in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I do see that conflict with him when every time he says, "as you wish," like, I don't know. It just makes me melt. And
yeah, he is just like going up to her, just like exuding sex through his eyes, just like
putting
down the picture.
That's the thing.
Like,
that's the sex thing. When a guy turns on the sex face, like, I instantly am just like, nope, shut that shit down. Like,
I fucking the shit out of her when he gets that picture down.
So I think that's interesting, Nicole, that you said you didn't realize he was hot until now. Like, Wesley is the first character that I was 5 years old and I was like, fuck, that guy's hot. Like, no, seriously, I was like, what is this?
No,
what are
yeah,
these
he was always
sensations I'm having? What are these feelings?
So you're saying that Wesley gave you your sexual awakening?
Yes. Yes.
Fair enough. And now you're like, I don't want none of that picture. You keep that picture to yourself.
Yeah.
I disagree. I mean, I feel the opposite. I don't know that I was attracted to anyone in this movie when I was a kid. Not that I didn't get it. I mean, my heart belonged to Han Solo and Han Solo only in the 1980s.
Han Solo for sure.
But and weirdly Peter Venkman, but we can talk about that on another show.
Who played that? Bill Murray, no.
I like the funny guys. What can I say? I like the funny ones. So, but I felt the steam coming off of Wesley in the opening scene. Like, I'm into it. Like, he can get that picture down for me anytime, is what I'm saying.
And what I'm saying is I'm not falling for that shit again.
I get it, but I feel like if you look at what his actions in the rest of the movie, I think that character is, and I want to talk a lot about what goodness and what evil and how they're represented in this movie. That's definitely something I want to talk about. But I feel like I think the one thing that is a bit of a crack in that veneer of goodness is the way that he talks to her right after he rescues her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From Vincini. And I want to talk about that since we're already here. One of the things on my list, and I want to hear from everybody what they think about this, is that after he rescues her from Vincini, he basically accuses her of not being faithful to him, to Wesley. Because at the time, of course, we don't know it's Wesley. We think it's the man. We just know him as the Man in Black at that point. But he's accusing her of not being faithful and basically saying that Wesley died. It's good that Wesley died because thank God he never knew that she was this unfaithful. I mean, he doesn't.
What word did he use?
He basically says he never uses any words. He never
Okay.
and that's I think part of his honor system. He never says anything derogatory towards her, but he does say he says she's a liar and that she is unfaithful and basically implies that she immediately took up with this prince, even though it's been 5 years. Jesus.
And she probably didn't take up with him. Like the prince probably came and took her.
He did take her, yes. So I want to hear from you guys. Is Wesley, in that moment, is he too hard on her, or is that just his jealousy talking? Like, how do we feel about the way he speaks to her before she pushes him down the hill?
I think that we see like how piracy has changed him. Like as a person, he's not like a meek person anymore.
Yeah.
So I do think like that's important to kind of just show like what he's been through. I don't think he's questioning if she's like done anything untowards, but only questioning the promise of love.
Right. Although she says, I don't love him, like immediately. She's like, Humperdinck is going to get you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, your love, your love is, he's no match for me or whatever. And she's like, I don't love him.
Yeah. Well, because that's the phrase he's caught up on. That's why he says it first. He's like, oh, your true love.
Right. And she said, I never said that I loved him. But yeah, he like implies that she's this like tawdry, like, I mean, the thing is, this is kind of a kid's movie, so they never get into the sex of it. Like, they don't talk about sex, but he does basically imply that she has been unfaithful to him, I feel like, right? That's what he's getting at.
Yeah. So
you don't think so, Justine? You're shaking your head. So you think it's more of a emotional thing than a physical thing that he's implying?
I think that he's doing a lot of extreme actions to try to get this out of her truthfully, but I think he is just accusing her of saying that she would love him forever and then not, because I think that holds true to like the themes and morals of the film.
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is a film that believes in love as the most important thing above all other things. But I do also think, like, what was he expecting in this world that a woman would, after 5 years, not have to be married to someone? Like, it wasn't her choice. The prince came in and said, "I pick you." And also, like, in this world, it feels like women don't really have any control over their choices. So I don't know what he would expect after 5 years that she wouldn't be married. Especially if everyone
she should
thought
have
he was
clapped back
dead.
at him.
Fuck yeah, she should have clapped back at him. I mean,
Didn't
she does.
She said, "You were dead."
Well, she
Doesn't
doesn't
she say
clap back at
that?
Wesley. She claps back a little at the before she realizes it's him. She does.
Well, yes, of course, but she
yell at
does
him.
to the person in front of her say that Wesley was dead. Like,
And she pushes him down a very large hill,
yeah.
which I think is one of the few times that she shows agency in this movie at all.
So my problem with him saying that is like, yeah, he shouldn't be jealous. That's not fair. But also, like, he has no right to be upset with her because he, as he tells her after they find out, like, he's what Wesley, he's like, so I was with the Dread Roberts, and then he like stepped down, and I took his place, and
he retired. He got a nice severance package.
Yeah, and so I'm like, in all of that time, in no time during the 5 years could you have extricated yourself or found a way out, and now you're telling Buttercup that she was unfaithful. Like, there had to have been some way for you to get back to her. I don't know. I just didn't believe that.
I get that. And I understand the level of emotion that he's feeling, but it does feel a little bit uncharacteristically mean, and considering the way he treats her in the rest of the movie. I don't know. I guess it was that need in the script for the high drama of, like, how dare you tawdry woman, for taking up with Prince Humperdinck, who's, I don't think, a heterosexual man, but we'll get to that in a moment. I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw that. So that brings me to a question. How long do you think he was following her before he decided to step in? Like, did he just so happen to be following her the moment she got kidnapped, or has he been lurking around in the woods for a while? Because it seems pretty convenient that he's suddenly on a boat and following them the moment she gets kidnapped.
I think he probably got on the move when he heard that she would be marrying Humperdinck, because Humperdinck announced it. He was like, so this is going to be your new queen, like, when we're going to get married. Right. And the word spread, and then he probably pursued her.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. What do you think, Justine?
I think that makes sense, but it doesn't when you think of that timeline, because Humperdinck said that he was going to have her killed the night of the announcement of the engagement first, which was that day.
Did he?
Interesting. I guess I hadn't considered that. Yeah, he announces it to the community, and then the next thing we see is her on a horse riding. So I wonder if, like, she's been at the castle for a while, maybe. I do think it would make sense that he would come back if he knew that she was getting married, but it's also like, I mean, where have you been, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
plus, like, it's not her choice. It's not her choice to get married.
No, but again, that's why I think this is his jealousy talking, where it's like it becomes irrational. Like, it's not her choice, and it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years, and everyone thought you were dead. And it's a little bit much for him to come in and start accusing her of things at that point. But I think that's just the her talking, which they both seem to get over pretty quickly.
Yeah.
As soon as
nobody seems to be holding a grudge after that roll down the hill.
But which did not look fun, by the way.
Can we just take a moment to talk about all the stunt people that you can clearly see with like wearing wigs.
Yes.
Or like, did you guys notice? I stopped it today a couple of times. Did you notice when they're climbing up the cliff of insanity that when they cut to the wide shot, because obviously almost all of this is on a soundstage, right?
Yeah.
So it's like matte paintings as far as the eye can see. No judgment there. That's just how things were shot in the 80s. All the lighting is perfectly constructed. There's no natural light anywhere.
Yeah.
But when they do cut to the on location shot of the cliffs of insanity, like it's clearly a stunt guy wearing a wig, but also with 2 dummies strapped to his body.
Yes,
I didn't notice
clearly.
that. No.
It made me laugh so hard we rewound it like 4 times just to watch him like climbing up there with these dummies like suspended from his body. It's like,
I also
now
like
that we have
the stunt
HD, you
people at
can't
the
get away
end.
with that shit, huh?
I also like the stunt people at the end on the horses.
Oh yeah,
They're clearly not them.
Or like, it reminds me of, you know that scene in Spaceballs where they get swapped with the stunt people, and it's like men that are dressed like there's a man dressed as the princess. Like when they roll down the hill
It's
and
exactly
you see her
that.
like rolling, I'm like, it's exactly that. It's hilarious. Sarah, what else you got on your list?
Let me see.
I'd also like to say that Peter Falk's old age makeup is fucking absurd. Like you can, in the close up right before he leaves, after he says like "as you wish" to Fred Savage, his hair is a totally different color. They obviously like put gray in it,
why did
all
they
in
put
it, and then
why did they just cast
fake mustache.
Why did they just cast an actor that was old enough?
He was old. He was old when he did this movie, but they were like, no, he's got to be like white hair old.
Okay. I liked the 3 trials, I guess.
Let's talk about the real trials.
The trial by swordplay, and then strength, and then wits.
Yes.
I liked it. Reminded me of Harry Potter, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, when like Harry and Hermione and Ron have to go through all those tests. You know, of course this came first, so really that reminds me of this.
But the notion of going through trials is a pretty common thing in these types of films and stories, and of course there's the rule of 3 where you got to do everything 3 times. So that makes sense. That brings me to one of my points, which is that there is a notion of how honorable people fight in this movie and how dishonorable people fight.
Yes.
And so it's basically gentleman's rules. Like you watch the fight between Indigo and Wesley, and they, not only does he wait for him to, well, he throws him the rope first of all, waits for him to relax, like get a breath in before he actually fights him. When there's sword fighting, nobody stabs anyone in the back. They wait for each other. It's more of a dance than a fight.
Yeah. Oh, I love the choreography. It's just like, it's so choreographed.
Oh, it's so great.
They make fun of it. They make fun of that it's so choreographed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what was that old 20s actor, Douglas Fairbanks, who used to do all the old, Justine, you're a film school person. You can help me out there. Douglas Fairbanks, right? That was the guy that did all the silent film swashbuckling movies. I feel like it was kind of an homage to that sort of thing. But you know, the violence in this movie, when perpetrated by the good guys, is based on a set of rules that everyone follows. And even Fezzik, you know, when he throws the rock to alert Wesley to his presence, says, you know, when Vincini is like, just hit him with a rock, and he's like, my way doesn't seem very sportsmanlike. Like everybody's, all the good guys have a set of rules that they're going to follow. Whereas, and in fact,
those
later,
2 don't die because yeah.
But also, even later, when they get out of the fire swamp and Wesley's been surrounded by the Count and his men, and the Count is like, let's get you to his ship. One of the things Wesley says is, we are men of action. Lies do not become us. Because that is how the good guys, even the pirate and the swordsman and the giant, all behave under those rules. But then but Prince Humperdinck will lie and take any advantage he can, and the Count will throw a sword in your gut when you're not looking.
But
So
also,
it's like
don't forget the third guy who died
Vincini,
as well. Yeah,
who swaps the cups
Yes.
when he's not looking. I said that
Yeah.
in quotes if
Yeah.
you can't, if you're not watching the vidcast, because obviously Wesley is fully aware that he's switching the cups. There's no
Yeah.
way he's not aware of that. But yeah, everybody in the movie who fights dirty is somebody we would consider to be a bad guy. So even a pirate who's supposed to be a bad guy becomes a good guy because he follows a set of gentleman's rules, basically, about violence in this movie. Anyway.
I like that. It's kind of like when you watch it as a kid, you don't know it, but you understand it. That like, oh yeah, I'm rooting for these people, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at them on paper, Indigo, Fezzik, and Wesley should be the bad guys. They are, and again, this, we haven't really gotten into class or classism, but all three of them are of a lower class. Wesley starts out as a farm boy. The whole reason he's got to leave is because he's not at a class level where he can actually marry Buttercup. He's got to go find some money and raise his stature first. And then he becomes a pirate, which is like one of the lowest of the low, right? The pirates are bad guys. They're hooligans. They're scoundrels. They steal. They kill. Fezzik and Indigo are just muscle for hire, basically. Like Indigo's an assassin. That's what he is, really. He goes around killing people for Vincini, and Fezzik is just the brute squad, as it were. So all of those guys should not be our heroes, but because we see them making choices that are on a certain end of the moral compass, they become the heroes, even though in another fairy tale they would be not the heroes. They would be the bad guys we're fighting against, which I think is part of that subversion of your usual fairy tale. The prince is supposed to be the hero, but he's not. Anyway, Sarah, what else you got on your list?
Let's see. I don't know if this is skipping ahead, but the Pit of Despair, is that skipping ahead too far?
No. Let's talk about it.
What happens in between?
A lot of stuff happens. Well, the fire swamp. So maybe we'll circle back to that.
Fire swamp.
Before we get there, there is one thing since we've been talking about the Cliffs of Insanity, I just want to talk about how Wesley is such a saucy bitch that he's going to leave his job, climb the Cliffs of Insanity, almost get murdered by 3 different people just to fight with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that's some petty ass shit right there.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to acknowledge the level of pettiness and say that I respect it.
So yeah, I guess the thing I wanted to talk about in the Pit of Despair was something you mentioned earlier with the rodent of unusual size. We
got to talk about the fire swamp because, all right, in fact, I think let's talk about Buttercup.
Okay.
Because she is really our own. I mean, she's not the only female character we have in this movie, but she might as well be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Buttercup. Anybody want to jump in here? How do we feel about Buttercup and her place in this story?
So I feel like she is, the way Robin Wright portrays her is very strong, very strong-willed and sharp and smart and takes no bullshit. However, what she actually does is she waits for Wesley to come save her. And it's like it was written for her to be like, to wait around, but the way Robin plays her is very strong. So like,
yes,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think for sure. Justine, any thoughts on that, or your thoughts on Buttercup? Should they be different?
She's also she believes everything that people tell her. She's naive.
Yeah, she is naive. I mean, the fact that she believes that they're going to not kill Wesley.
Yeah.
After the fire swamp. I think maybe that's what she wants. You know, she wants to live in a world where, she wants to live in a world where things are fair, and the other guys and the guys that she's dealing with are just not about fairness. You know,
she does see in his eyes, and at one point near the end in the prince's eyes, she was like, "You didn't call the ships, or like you didn't send the letter, or like."
Well, what happens is he says that this whole armada is gonna join them after the bridal, like after the wedding, and she's like, except for your 4 fastest ships, right? And he looks at her like, like, as most men do when they make a promise and they forget what they said. And she's like, you're the 4 fastest ones that you sent to get Wesley. And he's like, oh yeah, totally, babe. Yes, absolutely. My 4 fastest, obviously. And that's when she realizes that he didn't send those ships at all. But here's what I think about Buttercup. And I think Justine and I have already mentioned that she's far better served in this movie than she is in the book. But I think Buttercup, and I honestly didn't even see this as clearly until I started watching these movies with my daughter. So my daughter Charlotte, who you can't put any bullshit past her, my 10-year-old, she watched, of course, she's watched all the Star Wars movies with us. She watched Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark with us. She's watched Princess Bride, so a bunch of stuff from the 80s, Goonies. And her complaint is always the lack of female power, as she calls it. And I think that Buttercup is of a tradition of women written by men in the 80s whose only weapon is her tongue, I should say, her wit. Buttercup speaks in a way that is strong and decisive, but her actions do not. She doesn't act in a way. She doesn't act at all, really. She doesn't have any agency. She doesn't have any control over what she does. In the fire swamp, and this tradition goes with, I would say, Marion. Like when I grew up, like we were told that these were strong women, and at the time, what I keep telling my daughter is, this is what we had. Like this is what we were given. Marion from the Indiana Jones, same thing. Like she's a strong woman, but she doesn't do anything. She has to be rescued. Even now, I think Princess Leia, of all of those, has more agency than most, but she also in a lot of ways falls in that category.
But speaking of Princess Leia, like that was also a movie when I was a kid that I was like, she's the only character I can play. Like,
I know.
Anyway, keep going.
I mean, at least Princess Leia was like a fucking general, like, commanding an army. So she was a bit of a badass there for that reason, but she does still have to be, I mean, she's better than most for sure. And but that was what we had at that time. And I think Buttercup jumps out of the boat when she's trying to escape from Vincini and those guys. But in the fire swamp, like Wesley is full on being attacked by a giant rodent and she doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
like she doesn't pick up a stick. She doesn't throw a rock at it.
Like I am on my couch, like screaming, like, do something. And I'm like, I'll get in there. Like, come on.
Let Sarah in there. Sarah will fuck that rat up. I mean, that's what my daughter was saying too. She's like, why isn't she doing anything? The rat is coming right towards her. She doesn't even move. I mean, Buttercup behaves in this movie, I think, like a normal person would. Like, if you put me in the fire swamp, I'm going to stand there like a fucking idiot, like not doing anything.
What?
But this is a fairy tale. Yeah, I mean, I might run.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, she's scared. She's never seen anything like that before.
Right? If a eel was coming at me, I'd probably be frozen too. But this is
the
fucking movie.
Is attacking the person she loves.
Sarah, like, I love you, but if a giant rat was attacking you, I would probably like call an exterminator, but I don't know if I would be able to get involved.
Okay.
I'm just not qualified. I am not qualified.
Was attacking someone I loved, I would get in there. I would hit it with a stick.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, I'd probably try to at least pick up a stick for sure.
Yeah. I do wish that this was built into more of a character arc for her, because you see she's inactive, but sadly, the time when she chooses to be active at the end is when she wants to kill herself.
Exactly.
Yeah, again, which is an action. Like she doesn't try to kill Humperdinck. Like I agree, Justine. I think it would have been a great arc for her, especially in the structure of this narrative where we're subverting a fairy tale. If you have a princess who needs to be rescued, and then ends up after her wedding trying to take some action, whether or not she's successful in it, trying to do something would have been a huge character development, whereas nothing really develops for her at all.
No.
She starts the movie as a sort of a woman that needs to be rescued, and that's where she ends the movie. It doesn't really change for her at all, whereas everyone else in the movie goes through some kind of change, except for maybe Fezzik.
Why is it called The Princess Bride then?
Because it's about an object that everyone's trying to obtain, which is Buttercup.
Truth.
Like that's why I thought your point of view about the title was so interesting, because I don't think the movie is the movie's not about her, it's about the acquisition of her.
Yes.
And again, listeners, we love this movie. It's brilliantly written, it's funny, it's well acted. I feel nothing but good feelings when I watch this. But as a grown woman and a filmmaker, I can sit here and look at it and go, this movie was not written with the idea of giving the female character any kind of agency or purpose beyond being rescued by the men in the movie.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yep.
Tossed around from good guy to bad guy. That's what Buttercup is, really. Passed back and forth. That's it. But her and Wesley have good chemistry, so I do enjoy that part of it. Sarah, you're so sad. I feel like I just shit. Your mom, I broke my promise to your mom. I shit on this movie, didn't I?
No, you didn't. I am shitting on this movie. I'm shitting on Wesley.
It's not Wesley's fault. I mean, Wesley gives her more. I think Wesley would have whisked her off and made her a lady pirate. I mean, shit. I honestly think Wesley was going to take her from that fire swamp right to the ship, and they were going to go off together and fucking rob rich people together. You know what I mean? Now that's a narrative for 2020 that I need. Buttercup and Wesley just marauding the landscape, robbing rich people. That's the story I want to see.
There you go.
I think Wesley thought she was capable of more than other people in this movie. That's why he takes her into the swamp, you know? Now, because if he thought that she couldn't handle it, there's no way they would have even tried.
But he did lift her and like push her around and like carry, and like he seemed to always have his eye on her in the swamp.
Well, he should. I think she proved with that rat that she was not ready to get in the mix.
Yeah.
I mean, she steps right into the only quicksand hole nearby. Like, she is not looking where she's going remotely.
Yep. And then he saves her from that.
Of course. And, you know, look, it's all very romantic, but I would have it is when he immediately, like, I was watching this movie with Chris, my husband, who's in the 4 years that we've done this podcast has never listened to the show and will never listen to it. My husband and I were watching this movie, and when she falls into that sand pit and he goes in after her, I was like, babe, if I was, and I didn't even get the sentence out. I was like, babe, if I fell into a sand pit, and he was like, hell no, I would not jump in after you. I'd poke that sand with a stick and I'd go, hey, I would try to grab it, but I would not go in there after you.
Oh my gosh, but you've known him for like 20 years or something.
He's like, I'm sorry. It was nice knowing you. I love you. I'm not gonna fucking go into a sand pit after you.
You carried his 3 children.
I know. I carried 3 of his children. I had 3 of his offspring surgically removed from my body, and the man will not grab a vine and jump in a sand pit after me.
Grounds for divorce.
I don't know, right?
Just watch to test that theory. Just kidding.
Wow.
All right. Sarah, what else you got on your list? Well, okay, before we get to the pit of despair.
Right. Okay. So,
I do have something I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
Is this about the fire swamp?
No.
Okay. I think we need to talk about this Well, there's two things I really want to tackle before we get to the pit of despair. Number one, while there's not a lot of feminist material to chew on in this movie, I think we can all agree with that. I think there's a lot to talk about in regards to masculinity. Like, what is masculinity in this movie? How is it portrayed? What does it mean to be a man in The Princess Bride? I think there's a lot to chew on here, and I like what they have to say about it. Any thoughts on that?
I find the character of Inigo very captivating because he, you know, has spent his whole life from when he was a child, when his dad was killed, like with this, like, I'm going to kill the man who killed my father. And I feel like that's something that I've seen a lot, I guess, before in
the revenge,
avenging
my father's death.
Yeah, and then after he does it, he's like, "What do I do now? Like, I don't know."
Yeah,
what to
you
do
don't
with
usually
my life.
see that, right?
Yeah,
the you know the lack of purpose after the revenge.
Yeah.
What about you, Justine? What do you think about, like, what does it mean to be a man in this movie?
That's a really good question. And I feel like it just is making me think about like what you said before about like good guys and bad guys. And I feel like when I think of the men in this, I do think of them as the good guys as being like courteous.
Yeah. They have a code.
Yeah.
They have a code. I think that what I see in this movie is masculinity being portrayed by all the typical tropes. Men in this movie are strong. They're proficient in weaponry and fighting. They are quick-witted. They're but they have a code if you're the good guy. If you're a bad guy, evil in this movie basically means cowardice, not playing by the rules, and that sort of thing.
And lying and
cheating to win. Yeah. But what I think that this movie says about masculinity that I love and is a example, I think, of a positive view of masculinity is that the men in this movie who are our heroes, their choices are motivated by love.
Yes.
And there's nothing about it that is possessive. Like, Wesley isn't happy when Buttercup rides off. After, like, they take Buttercup away after the fire swamp, but he doesn't stop loving her. He doesn't call her names. He doesn't become bitter. He doesn't fight with the guys. Like, he knows that they belong together, and he's not his masculinity isn't threatened by the fact that she says, "I just want to save your life. I'm going to go with him so that you will live."
Yeah.
Right? So all of Wesley's decisions are motivated by love. All of Fezzik and Fezzik's decisions are motivated by his love for Indigo and their friendship. Indigo's decisions are motivated by the love for his father. And also, I think the three of them have this beautiful little bromance going.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think men are allowed to love each other and love the people in their lives openly in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful view of masculinity that this movie has to show. Anyway.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I just want to know, it seems like other people picked up on this, but the last time I watched this movie before today, which was with my daughter, it had been a long time, I was like, oh, Humperdinck and the Count are a couple.
It's like that one scene, that like one line of like, you know,
at the tree.
Line.
He says well, it's not just that. I actually feel like they have a romantic chemistry for the whole movie. Like the way that they look at each other, the way that they have this like secret way to communicate with their body language. They're connected in a way that's beyond like a boss underling relationship.
Well, what's the line?
If you don't have your health,
you don't have anything. Well, I feel like it starts for me with where they're at the tree, and the Count is like, "Do you want to come down and join me in the torture pit?" And Humperdinck is like, "I love to watch you work."
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on. And then Humper, and they're talking about how he's got so much to do and he's so stressed. And then, and then the Count is like, well, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And I was like, oh, they're a couple. And I think obviously Humperdinck wants to start a war, so that's why. But I was like, oh, he's got to murder his wife because he's expected to marry, but he's in love. But him and the Count are together, but they can't be together because in this world that's not okay.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
He also wants to murder his wife to start a war.
Yeah,
he does
for whatever reason.
But he's also not interested in her remotely sexually because he's already in a relationship with someone else that he can't be with. And I know that this is not explicit in the movie, but I feel like it's not allowed to be explicit in this movie because of the time period that we're in. But I feel like it's very clear to me that they are a couple.
Yes.
And that they and I do think, and this goes back to our discussion as well of the discussion we had with Ava Davis about All About Eve and how gay and lesbian characters are not allowed to be open in a lot of films and also usually have to be the bad guys.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is a case where you have two characters, which I don't know if the actors, I don't know who decided this, but I feel like it's very palpable. It's not a bromance. It's not a professional vibe. I feel like there's a romantic connection between them, and that also characters like that are often the bad guys.
The gays are evil.
It's in the way So I feel like that. I feel like that's present in the movie. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That didn't occur to me, but it makes sense. But those things tend not to occur to me. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that, like, if you watch the movie enough, you're like, these two, eh?
These two are an item. Welcome to Plug It Up. This is the part of the show where we talk about where you can see cool things that our guests are doing and some cool things that we're doing. Justine, tell us, what would you like to plug?
Yeah, I'm doing a couple things. First of all, I want to say you guys are the first people I'm actually telling about our Pod Appetit rebranding.
Yay! So exciting!
We are coming back as Pod Appetit Gourmet Takes. We are watching a whole new variety of food media, like Hulu shows, YouTube channels, and getting away from that icky Bon Appetit brand.
Yeah, I see what the need of the rebranding is. Yeah, there's some awkwardness there. I saw it all happening on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh God, oh!"
I have no idea. I'll look this up after. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So we can still be found on all our social media handles, of course, as at pod_appetit. That part's not changing. We're still Pod Appetit, but
as you should.
Yeah.
Take that name and make it positive.
Yes, positively focusing on people actually doing good, actually covering chefs of color, as we navigate this landscape. And we definitely like to get the audience involved. So hit us up and tell us what shows you want us to cover and recipes that we'll be making.
And it's at Pod Appetit. Can you say that again?
At pod_appetit.
Nice. At pod_appetit. Excellent. And incidentally, Justine, I also enjoy just watching you bake things because I went vegan last year. And I enjoy watching all your vegan treats that you make.
Sorry, I was making sure that the handle was right. I haven't had to say it in 2 months.
Oh God, I totally get it. I've been doing this show for 4 years, and I still have to write down all of our handles. Anything else to plug?
Yeah, I also will. You can find me streaming on Twitch Mondays.
Nice.
For Minecraft Mondays at the Brother HQ, I stream with Tanner.
Fun!
Minecraft. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. Is that like for grown-ups or can kids? Is it a kid-friendly show?
It's like PG-13, I'd say.
That's cool. All right, so maybe I'll let my 10-year-old watch it.
Yeah, we do like a chill stream on Mondays for Minecraft Monday.
That sounds awesome. Cool. I love it. Well, thank you, Justine, for telling us about the cool things that you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Oh my God,
Thank
it's
you
been
for being
amazing
here.
having
It's
you
been awesome.
here. We're gonna have to have you back on. I feel like I remember when you guys did Splash, and we've been talking about doing Splash.
Oh my gosh,
for a long time, and we
Yes,
still
we
haven't done it.
have.
But I feel like we got to have you back on to do Splash, because that
course.
movie has
It's
there's a lot to unpack there. All right, so a couple things. Sarah, do you have anything you'd like to plug? You got your blog and stuff, right?
Blog, yeah. www.sarahAllisonhodges.com. Blog, sometimes.
Blog it up.
Working on a book right now, and
you've got a new book you're outlining as well.
Working on a new book, yeah, a new sci-fi hit period piece. I don't know. It's gonna be cool. Yeah.
I love it. So check out Sarah's blog. She's a wonderful writer, and go check that out. So a couple things I'd like to plug. Well, one of the things I like to plug is Mining for Gold and Improv Jam, which is an improv jam that I've been doing with some pals over Zoom during quarantine. It's every Wednesday starting at 9:30. It's live streamed. It's super fun. And
that's
last
9:30 p.m.
9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you go, sometimes I forget I'm in my bubble of Eastern Standard Time. But yes, it's 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Mining for Gold. If you go to Facebook and look up Mining for Gold and Improv Jam, there's a Facebook live stream there, and also they'll replay it. So even if you missed it, you can always watch one in the replay. But it's really fun. Last week got fucking crazy. It got fucking crazy. I laughed so hard, you guys. People were really on top of their game last week, and it's just a fun time. So if you're laying around on Wednesday and you're like, man, I need to laugh, check out Mining for Gold and Improv Jam. I'd also like to plug our Critical Crop Top, which is the production company that produces this podcast, but also some other things. So Critical Crop, we recently started releasing footage, or edited footage, of course, of the sketches that we did during our live show. So from 2016 to 2018, we did a number of live comedy shows that were not seen unless you actually went to the fucking show. And now we're releasing the sketches. So we have so many sketches. I'm releasing them every week.
Woo!
So, every week on the YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and find our channel, we're Critical Crop Top, you can watch our sketches. A new one comes out every week. You can listen to this podcast and watch the vidcast. So if you're listening to us, you can also look at our faces on YouTube. So all of the podcasts that we're currently doing, we're recording a video portion, and it's going up on YouTube, and you can see it on the Critical Crop Top YouTube channel. So, or you can follow us at Critical Crop Top on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Also, I love donating to Critical Crop Top.
Actually, Justine has been such a huge supporter of us, you guys. Like, Justine has donated to our crowdfunding campaign. She has donated like stuff of our Amazon wish list. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Justine.
I love you guys.
I love you too. And if any of you guys are interested in donating to Critical Crop Top, which produces this show and sketches and films and etc., you can go to our website, www.criticalcroptop.com, and just look for the little donate tab. It's tax deductible, ladies and gentlemen. Another thing I'd like to plug. I'm sorry, I've got so many plugs this week. I feel like such a talky bitch right now. Sarah and I. So you may remember, on our last episode, we joked about starting a podcast where we only watch Adam Driver and Andy Samberg movies, called the Adam and Andy Podcast. And we fucking did it. Like, we fucking started a podcast. It's real. It's a thing that exists. We recorded an episode.
It's out there.
It's out there. So if you, like us, love Andy Samberg and Adam Driver enough to only watch their movies and talk about them,
and if you like us,
and if you like us, if you like this show, expect more of the same, with maybe just a skosh more thirst, a lot more thirst. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Adam and Andy Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at Adam Andy Pod. which I know is kind of weird.
But also Twitter has the shorter name rule.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to. Okay, Adam Andy Pod. But we're posting pictures, memes, fun
oh my
things.
Gosh.
Oh, I'm
Nicole
following.
runs those accounts, and they're hilarious. The stuff she posts.
And honestly, there's a wealth of content about these guys already on Twitter. So sometimes it's just retweeting funny shit that I find.
Yeah.
But also there's the podcast. We've got one preview episode up. And then the first official episode is coming out in September, which is when this show will be going up. So a week after this episode that you're hearing right now, you will be able to a week after this episode, which you're listening to right now, you will be able to listen to the first episode of the Adam and Andy podcast. What film are we doing, Sarah? What film are we watching first?
Oh my God, what is the name of it? What's the name of it?
That's My Boy.
Oh, That's My Boy with Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg.
And Andy Samberg. So we'll be watching Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg, and That's My Boy. And then on that show, we'll spin a wheel to find out what Adam Driver movie we're watching.
Wow.
After.
I do love a wheel spin.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally random. We put all of their whole. We put about 6 films at a time and TV shows, their filmography on a wheel, and we spin to see which one we're watching next. That's how we're deciding what we're watching.
I'm excited about that. That's My Boy, because I would have never, ever watched that if we hadn't done this podcast.
Look, I have low hopes for That's My Boy, but I do love Andy Samberg, so I'm sure I will enjoy it. And if you want to listen to that show, we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Stitcher, and we're also on Spotify. As I found out today, we're now on Spotify. So check out the Adam and Andy podcast. And then, of course, you can also follow this podcast, the one that you're listening to currently, the Feminine Mistake Podcast. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Feminine Mistake Pod, and you can find us on Twitter at Fem Mistake Pod, where you can talk to us about The Princess Bride. Did we ruin your childhood?
I hope not.
I hope we didn't. How hot is Wesley? Should
or
we
is
be
he not?
wary? Is he hot or not? I'm in the hot. Sarah's in the not.
He's
Justine,
hot.
I think Justine
he's a bit of a
falls
jerk.
in the
It's in the hot, yeah.
in the hot. So we got 2 hots and a not. So
Hey,
or
he's
2
hot.
hots.
I'm not saying
2
he's not
hots and a
hot.
hot. 2 hots and a hot. But you're wary
a dick.
of it.
Hot but a dick.
Hot but a dick. Okay, fair enough. So tell us what you think. And of course, if you like the show, maybe consider leaving us a review.
Please. We beg of you. Please.
Positive review.
We're not. We're begging. We're begging a little bit. We're begging a little bit at this point.
Please.
Okay. That's all the plugs I've got to plug, I think. So guys, come back next week. We're going to continue our discussion on The Princess Bride with Justine. And we're going to get into some meaty topics.
Juicy.
Some juicy topics. I have been building up a tolerance to meaty topics. As a vegan, I've been building up my tolerance to meaty topics.
And iocane powder.
And iocane powder. Thank you for noticing that was where I was going with that joke. Yes. Picking up that ball for me.